Welcome aboard, everybody. Dr. Peter Glidden here, your steadfast advocate for health, welcoming you to another live edition of Fire Your MD Now, a.k.a. The Dr. Glidden Show. Check out the live video stream, the drgliddenshow.tv, where currently there are 46 people watching on YouTube and 61 people in the chat room. Want to get into the chat room? Guess what? It's free. Go to the drgliddenshow.tv. Check out the details, and I look forward to seeing you in the chat room. Well, my head, not really my head, my intellect and my heart and my body-mind are heavy today because of this amyotrophic lateral sclerosis ice bucket nonsense, which is sweeping the country. $40 million have been raised just in the last month because of this ice bucket craze, where millions of unsuspecting, uneducated, closed-minded, but good-natured, compassionate, and caring human beings have been duped again by the collective unconsciousness and abject lemming-like stupidity of the American public to donate money to come up with a cure for amyotrophic lateral sclerosis to the MDs. This really drives home the sobering state of affairs that we have here in North America, quite frankly, all around the world. You know, when you are involved with Longevity Nation, as you are, and when people of like minds come together underneath the holistic tent, we have a tendency to forget the way that other people in the world think. We have a tendency to forget momentarily that we are, in fact, in the abject, utter minority of people in the world. There are only a very small percentage of people who think the way that we think, and the way that we think is the correct way to think. It's the rational way to think. It's the sophisticatedly intellectual integrity way to think. MD-directed medical treatments for chronic diseases do not work. Your MD is not trained to understand the pathogenesis of disease. Your MD is not trained how to cure disease. And so why on earth would you raise money and give it to the profession that absolutely positively cannot possibly ever in their wildest dreams come up with a solution to your problem? It's mind-boggling to me that this happens. And yet it really strikes home, and it strikes to the heart of the issue here when I see so much nonsense happening in such an exuberant manner all across the United States. People are jumping on this train because, people are compassionate and people are honest and people want to do the right thing, but people don't know what the right thing is. And because we don't have a free medical market, because the medical market has been monopolized here by the American Medical Association in the United States, by Health Canada in Canada, and I don't know what the organization is in the European Union, because the pharmaceutical interests hold sway over everybody else in the field of medicine, because the MDs are in the catbird seat, in the driver's seat of medicine. The average person on the street is of the incorrect assumption and the incorrect opinion that the MD is the only go-to person, is the go-to person for all things medical. And they completely overlook the notion, the fact, quite frankly, it's not a notion, they completely overlook the facts that MDs don't practice medicine. MDs practice allopathic medicine. I don't practice medicine. I practice naturopathic medicine. I practice homeopathic medicine. MDs don't practice medicine. MDs practice allopathic medicine. And allopathic medicine, which has been in the majority here, in the bus driver's seat for the last 100 years, while we have given complete and utter control of the medical arena to the MDs practicing allopathic, pharmaceutical-centrist, reductionistically oriented medical treatments, while we've given those guys carte blanche, Amyotrophic lateral sclerosis increases. Multiple sclerosis increases. Heart disease increases. Obesity increases. Alzheimer's increases. Autism increases. High blood pressure increases. Type 2 diabetes increases. Life expectancy decreases. Bankruptcies increase due to medical bills. Leading cause of death in the United States, MD-directed medical therapeutics. The MDs do not even know how to cure heartburn. And well-intended but really clueless Americans have just given them $40 million out of their own pockets to come up with a cure for amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. Now, do you think they're going to be able to do that? No. And you mark my words, you watch what happens. This hullabaloo is going to die down. And, 6 months from now, everybody's going to forget about it. And then a year from now, that $40 million that was raised is going to produce zero results. And then when we see that there haven't been any results produced, we'll blame it on bureaucracy. We'll blame it on the Obama administration. We'll blame it on the current administration, whoever that is. We'll blame it on somebody else, but we will overlook the simple fact of the matter that we took the wrong dog to the hunt. It's like we're going duck hunting with a Chihuahua. Well, guess what? I can guarantee that if you go duck hunting with a Chihuahua, you're going to come back empty-handed. I do not care how good a shot you are, unless you like swimming in ice-cold, frigid water. Well, I guess people don't mind dumping ice-cold, frigid water over their heads if it's for a good cause. Well, coming up with a cure for amyotrophic lateral sclerosis is an excellent cause, but there is no way on God's green earth that the MDs will be able to accomplish this, because the MDs bring to the table a philosophy of medicine and understanding of the pathogenesis of disease, which is juvenile, old-fashioned, outdated, and completely unrealistic. These are the same people that killed George Washington, the first president of the United States, by bleeding him to death, because that was the standard of care. It's that type of, old-fashioned, outdated intractability, hubris of legendary proportions, which drives the MDs forward. And quite frankly, do you know of any other profession that can fail and 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 still be number one? The only people that can do that are people that are in the monopoly, right? If you're the king, you can do whatever you want, and it doesn't matter because you're the king and you make the rules. Well, this amyotrophic lateral sclerosis nonsense, which is sweeping the country, really brings home to me the sobering fact that most people in the United States just don't get it. They don't get it. They're still in the matrix. They're still down the rabbit hole. They're still laboring under the cultural myth, the misconception that the MDs know what's best for them. They have no idea that we don't have a free medical market. They have no idea about the distinctions between reductionism and holism. They have no idea about the distinctions between allopathic medicine and naturopathic medicine and medical nutrition and everything else. They have no idea of these distinctions. They think that the MD knows what's best for them. They do. They think that. Most people do. And it's just a wake-up call, I think. To me, I don't know what you're going to make of it, but it's a wake-up call to me to look to see how great the cultural myth, how still deeply embedded in people's minds the cultural myth of the superiority of the MD method is. It's big, it's bad, and it's a voodoo daddy. It's big and bad, and it's a big bad voodoo daddy, ladies and gentlemen. For goodness sake, we've taken the wrong dog to the hunt. We're the only people saying it. And look, again, people's good intentions have been played. People's good intentions have been taken advantage of by, the pharmaceutical industry, by the American Medical Association, by 100 years of medical profiteering propaganda, positioning the MDs as the abject gods of medicine. MD does not stand for medical deity. However, most people incorrectly assume that it does. Case in point, Dr. Oz. Dr. Oz is a cardiac surgeon, and yet he has a television show where he talks about everything. And people believe him like, it's the word from the mount. Dr. Oz doesn't have a secret decoder ring to all things medical just because he has an MD after his name, nor does Andy Weil. They don't. They're MDs. And in a perfect world, we would go to them only for information about what they're trained in, how to suppress symptoms with drugs. Remember, we're not against drugs. Thank God for Novocaine, right? Thank God for penicillin. It's not the drug, it's how it's used. It's not the gun, it's how it's used. It's not. But the way that the MDs use these treatments, the leading cause of death in the United States, the leading cause of bankruptcy in the United States, and the cause of all human suffering relative to ill health. Because while we've let the MDs drive the bus of medicine, we're getting worse. We're getting worse and worse and worse and worse, and worse and worse and worse, instead of better and better. And we've been tricked again by the MDs into believing that it's our fault. It can't be the MD's perspective. It can't be the MD's old-fashioned, outdated philosophy of healing. Can't be that. Because the MD is the all-powerful intellectual god of medicine. It can't be their incompetence. It's got to be your fault. You've got the amyotrophic lateral sclerosis gene. You've got the fat gene. You were born with a stomach that's too big. You have the blood sugar gene. That's what you have. Baloney. You don't have a bad gene, ladies and gentlemen. You have a bad doctor. Stop giving money to the wrong people. MDs are incapable of coming up with a cure for any chronic disease, including amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. And if you're in Longevity Nation and you've had a direct personal experience with health improvement underneath the diagnosis of amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, call me up. I want to hear from you today. If you know somebody who's had that experience, call them right now. Have them call the show. I'll put them right to the top of the line today. I'm Dr. Peter Glidden. Stick around. Like the fellow said, you can't fix stupid, but, there are lots of things that you can do in order to wake people up. And this is what we're all about in Longevity Nation. This is what we're all about in Longevity Nation. Now, today's Metaphysical Thursday, and on Metaphysical Thursdays, I like to fly afield here from the usual norm and talk about things having to do with metaphysics as they relate to the health of the human body. So this ALS thing kind of threw me off track, but I'd like to get back on that track a little bit here. We talk about homeopathy a lot because it's a medicine that's dear to my heart, completely, absolutely misunderstood by people in the mainstream. They have no idea about what homeopathy is whatsoever. Now, homeopathic medicine is extremely unique. As a matter of fact, it was the founder of homeopathy, Dr. Samuel Hahnemann, who coined the term allopathic medicine. It was Hahnemann that coined the term allopathic medicine to describe what the MDs of his time were up to, and they haven't changed. The Republican is always a Republican, a Democrat is always a Democrat, a tiger never changes its stripes, a communist is always a communist, right? So allopathic medicine is the same now as it was then. Homeopathy is the same now as it was then. Naturopathy, chiropractic, et cetera, et cetera. So homeopathic medicine, very unique, and it stands in direct polar opposition. It is the opposite, intellectually and clinically, of allopathic medicine. Homeopathy argues that rather than combating an illness with an oppositionally defiant symptom-suppressive medication that the MDs roll out, it would be better to support your body's ability to overcome the illness itself. And this is how homeopathic medicine was developed. Now, if you are attempting to help somebody with homeopathy, here's what you do. You take a substance which you are going to prepare as a homeopathic medicinal agent. It can be anything. And you prepare it homeopathically, and then you give that homeopathically prepared substance to 100 people. You give it to the many different types of people, women, children, men, the healthy, the sick, the infirm. You give it to a broad spectrum of humanity, and you have in different dosages and in different time schedules. And then you have the people whom you administer the medicine to write down what symptoms the medicine generates in their body. And then you can also catalog symptoms that you experience clinically with people who have benefited from the medicine. And you come up with a symptom catalog for each individual homeopathic medicine. Now, when you see somebody who's sick, you look through your symptom catalog and you try to match the symptoms of their organic illness with the symptoms produced by the homeopathic medicine. Now, this is the sticking point of homeopathy. This is how homeopathy got its name. Because if you presented to a homeopathic physician with a headache which felt like your head was being squeezed between a vice, you would be given a medicine which, when given to a healthy person, produced exactly the same symptom. Which, by the way, is different from a headache that makes you feel like your head's going to explode, or a headache that makes you feel like somebody's nailing an ice pick into your temple above your right eye, right? Many different ways that headaches can manifest, many different ways that any ache or pain or any acute or chronic symptom in the physical body can manifest. Homeopathic physicians pay acute attention to the details of the symptoms in the derivation, cataloging, and delivery of the homeopathic medicine. Now, this is where it gets really, really, really interesting. When you take a substance and prepare it homeopathically, you prepare it through a series of dilutions and serial dilutions and succussions. And you dilute the medicine to an extreme amount. You dilute the medicine so much that the possibility of even one molecule of the original substance existing in the medicine are infinite, which means you've diluted it so much that there is no more of the material essence left. It's no more. Like, for instance, if you mixed grape juice and water, and then added more 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 water. After a while, there wouldn't be any grape juice left in the solution, right? It would be completely diluted out. Well, homeopathic substances are completely diluted, and yet they produce physiological change. Now, the mechanism behind this is unknown. And the person who discovers the mechanism, which informs a homeopathic treatment, will probably be overlooked by conventional medicine, but should be awarded the Nobel Prize. What I'm going to talk about in the next segment, before I get to the phones, is what happens when you take the element gold, and prepare it into a homeopathic medicine. Prepare for your mind to be blown. I am Dr. Peter Glidden. This is Metaphysical Thursday. Welcome aboard. Yeah, man, I want to get away, too. Sometimes I just want to get away from the abject stupidity which exists here culturally. So many people are just still embedded in the matrix. They have no idea whatsoever that the MD is, quite frankly, the wrong dog for the hunt. So, we're talking about homeopathy. We're talking about the preparation of gold. Now, if you dig gold up out of the ground, you pulverize it, you grind it into a powder, and you inject it into the joint, nothing happens. It's inert. It produces zero reactions up or down inside the human body. That's why they like to use it for fillings in teeth, because it doesn't do anything. It's inert. It produces no positive nor negative metabolic reactions. Zero. However, if you take gold, serially dilute it into a homeopathic preparation and give it to people, oh my God. Here are the symptoms which are created and therefore treated by the homeopathic preparation of gold. If you run through the mental symptoms of gold, taking them all in as one great whole, you will see that all the affections natural to healthy people are perverted. So great in extent is this that one of the fundamental loves, which is the love of living, of self-protection, is perverted. And the sufferer loathes life, is weary of life, longs to die, and seeks methods to commit suicide. No love of life. The affections preeminently are deranged. The intellectual severe is only secondarily changed. Of course, insanity runs through the remedy, but it is an insanity that begins in the will and proceeds then to the intellect. It is first observed as a perversion of the affections. It is astonishing that one could get into such a state of mind, such horrible depression of spirits, that there is an absolute loss of enjoyment in everything. You take away a person's hope, and he has nothing to live for. He then wants to die. Such, it seems, is the state in this medicine. Self-condemnation, continual self-reproach, self-criticism, a constant looking into the self. They do nothing right. Everything is wrong. Nothing will succeed. Hopelessness. Imagines he cannot succeed in anything, and he does everything wrong. He is in disunion with himself. Imagines he sees obstacles in his way everywhere. He is all the time imagining that he has neglected something, that he has neglected his friends. He imagines that he deserves reproach in consequence of having neglected his duty. He has neglected something. He is wrong, is wholly evil, has sinned away his day of grace, is not worthy of salvation. This is the train of thought that constantly runs through his mind. The thought really becomes uncontrollable. He is absorbed in himself and sits and broods over it. And by brooding over it, he only intensifies the state and hatches new grievances, continuous to worry over himself. Thinks he is wholly unfit for the world, and then he longs to die. Unbelievable. This state of mind is the state of mind which responds beautifully to the administration of homeopathic gold. Now imagine that. I could wax philosophical about the relationship between gold and depression, right? I could go there and talk at length about it. But it's interesting to me, extremely interesting to me, that gold in its natural state is inert in the human body. However, when gold is prepared into a homeopathic preparation, it alters the very foundation of the vital force in such a way that people get profoundly suicidally depressed. So therefore, the treatment for suicidal ideation, suicidal depression, self-condemnation, self-loathing, homeopathically prepared gold. Now, when was the last time anybody went to a medical doctor who was depressed like that and got homeopathically prepared gold? Never! Now remember, homeopathic medicines, like most holistic therapeutics, are holistic, and they not only affect the mental sphere, but they affect the emotional sphere, the physical sphere as well. Homeopathic gold has a number of physical symptoms. I'm going to read you a couple of them, very interesting. Water accumulation of the abdomen, inguinal hernia. All of the glands of the body are involved, more or less. All sorts of disturbances of the sexual organs. The testes become indurated. Frequent nightly emissions. Complains as the result of vices. Hydrocele. Ulcers on the scrotum. Burning and stinging in the perineum. Uterus prolapsed and indurated. Leukorrhea, thick white. Complaints in the uterus and region of the pelvis from straining and reaching up the arm. Abortion from reaching up at the windows and fixing a curtain. Homeopathic gold is a medicine that is suitable for induration of the uterus and ulceration of the uterus as a result of repeated abortions. The symptoms of asthma and of difficult breathing you would naturally expect to be associated with the heart. Notice this also, that the difficult breathing is of two kinds in this remedy. Such breathing as involves the lung and such breathing as involves the heart. So it is, we have an asthmatic condition that is cardiac in character, and dyspnea, shortness of breath, belongs to such remedies as have a preponderance of actions on the affections of the heart. Very, very, very interesting. So, this really speaks to a metaphysical phenomenon, right? Because when you take any medicine, any substance, and serially diluted in a homeopathic method, in the preparation of a homeopathic substance, and then you have a homeopathic medicine, the properties of the medicine change. It's kind of like starting with grapes and ending up with alcohol. Well, alcohol produces a very different effect on your body than grapes do, but that's what it came from. Well, homeopathic medicines, regardless of their origin, change the properties of the original substance. But the mechanism through which this change happens is unknown. The mechanism through which such a dilute medicine can continue to produce strong and persistent symptoms on a living biological system is unknown. And, when the MDs, being reductionists, don't know things, they dismiss it as, it's dismissed. Over 90% of the chromosomal material in your body, the medical doctors have no idea what causes it, so they refer to that as junk DNA. They don't know what it does, so therefore it doesn't do anything because they know everything, right? This is the mindset that they bring to bear on everything. It's the same with your brain. They have no idea what 90% of your brain does, so therefore 90% of your brain is irrelevant to the MD. This is how they think. It's like gravity. Nobody's figured out the mechanism of gravity. Nobody knows what causes gravity. Not even Einstein knew that. And yet, do we run around saying gravity doesn't exist? Gravity is, quack medicine, that gravity is nonsense? No, we don't. Because we can see gravity's effects all the time. Well, you can see and measure the effects of homeopathic medicines all the time. But because the mechanism here is unknown, and because it kind of flies in the face of conventional wisdom, right? It's dismissed out of hand by old-fashioned, narrow-minded, intellectually cowardly medical professionals who are only interested in maintaining the status quo of a closed mind rather than investing real objective research into the nature and genesis of chronic disease to aid afflicted humanity. Your medical doctor does not have your best interests at heart. I'm not saying that they're sadistic. What I'm saying is their training is completely inconsistent with the reality of the human experience. The MD has no notion of any spiritual type of existence in the human body whatsoever, which is one of life's greatest ironies. Because many MDs are, in fact, very religious people in their private life. They're, God-fearing Christians, or they're devout Hindus, or they're practicing Buddhists, or they're Muslims, or they're Jews, right? Or whatever. Mormons. Which is kind of like being a Democrat at work, but being a communist at home. Or vice versa. How can you do both? Because if you are a religious person and you believe that there is a God, you believe that your body is inhabited by a spiritual soul force, then you must ask the question. You must. What is the relationship between the spiritual reality of my life and my physical body? What's the relationship? What's going on there? But they don't ask that question. When they're at work, they're taught that there's no such thing as the soul because nobody's ever dissected the soul out of a corpse. Nobody's ever seen the soul. Nobody's ever seen the spirit. Nobody's ever seen it. Nobody's ever measured it. Nobody's ever taken a picture of it with an X-ray, an MRI, an ultrasound, or a CT scan. And if you can't measure it, it doesn't exist. This is the perspective that the MD brings to bear on everything. And this is why perhaps the best way to understand them, the best frame to frame them inside of, is as if they were colorblind artists. Now, if you win the lottery and you've got a couple of extra $1,000 and you hire an artist to do a family portrait, cost, I don't know, what's that cost? I don't know. Let's just make a number up. $10,000. It's going to cost $10,000 to have an artist come to your home and do a painting of you and your family sitting around the fire, right, for posterity. But the artist is colorblind, and the artist doesn't know that they're colorblind. Well, you're going to be able to tell in the painting that that's you, and that's your husband, and that's your wife, and that's your kids, and that's your dog, and, there's the wreath over the fireplace. You're going to be able to tell, but the rest of it's just not going to be right. It's all going to be wrong, because the colors are going to be wrong, because the artist was colorblind. Part of it's going to be right, but they're going to miss it completely, but they're not going to know that they're missing it, and this is why your MD must be avoided 100%. And this is why it is a fool's errand to bring your body to the office of an MD if you're suffering with amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, multiple sclerosis, Lou Gehrig's disease, Alzheimer's disease, asthma, any type of chronic condition whatsoever, because their therapeutics do not take into consideration the real causative nature of the illness, and their therapeutics are not intended to heal. They're not intended to heal. They're not intended to cure the problem. The intention is to manage the symptoms, so that you need more drugs and then surgery and then another surgery and then you die. And then unsuspecting, good-hearted, good-natured, compassionate, caring human beings get swept up in the medical myth, and they go out of their ways to raise money to buy more paint for the colorblind art critic, the colorblind painter. We're in a world of hurt here, ladies and gentlemen, and I am not kidding. It is a worldwide phenomenon of hurt, pain, and suffering. You don't believe me? Well, the next time you're at a family dinner, a family gathering, just ask your brothers and sisters and cousins and nieces and nephews how they're doing. Ask them how many medications they're on. Ask them if they have incontinence. Are they sleeping through the night? How's their energy? How are their aches and pains? When you start to ask questions, you will be horrified by how much pain and suffering is in the world brought to you. Ay, Chihuahua. Ay, ay, ay. My people, they are destroyed by lack of nutrition. It's true. Esperidad, no? Sí, Esperidad. Let's go to Orlando and talk to Gabriel. Hey, Gabriel. Any relation to the angel?
Yes.
All right. I better watch my P's and Q's then. Thanks for the call, man. You are live.
Well, thank you for accepting me. Can you hear me clear enough?
You're coming in at loud and clear, brother.
Good. I experienced you the first time here on the show August 4th. I was a guest of Darren Moai.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you the short version of it. Time won't permit me to tell you everything, but I hope one day that I have the awesome pleasure of sitting with you and Dr. Wallach, because since August 4th, my life has already changed. I saw one of your videos on a health tube, which I answered that. That's how I got hooked up with Darren. I was a member of Beyond Organics, had no idea their merger had happened, so I didn't even know I was already a distributor. Darren has taken care of me with kid gloves. What you didn't know is that I was a pastor for over 25 years, and because of the obesity, because of all of the issues I had to resign early. It mortified me. Everything you just talked about, I experienced. I felt like a failure. I was a pretty good preacher, pretty good speaker, but yet I felt like a failure because I thought I couldn't control my appetite. Man, did the video help me with Dr. Wallach about the horse biting on the wood. But anyway, I don't have to
I know, right?
So, I saw your video right at the end of July. Before I even talked to Darren, I made up my mind. I'm going to eliminate the bad foods. I immediately told my wife, don't buy me no more of this, da-da-da-da-da. Well, I don't want to. I said, I'm not asking anybody. I know what I have. When Darren contacted me, bless his heart, he's been so overwhelming, just so helpful. He brought me to the show on that 4th. I told you I was 425. I was really 454. So I'm a big guy. The 2 degenerative diseases in my disc. I was born with brachial plexus in my left arm, so I've always had to use my right arm all my life. I could not move my forefinger on my right hand. I had a frozen shoulder that literally kept me up at night. I had swollen legs. Edema was out of control. My ankles, my feet, my legs looked like the legs of a real elephant. I was in constant pain, going to the bathroom all night, constantly, over the years, getting prostatitis. The doctor could only tell me Well, you know, you just get that, you know, I love you. I really do, Doc. I love your straightforwardness. I like how direct you are. And you just, you know, you called my doctor out completely. Well, let me get to the testimony. I'm sorry, because I can go.
Can I get a witness? Give me a witness.
On August 4th, after I talked to you, I told you I had a budget of about $250. I scrubbed up the money, got a can, I call it Tang Tang. I ordered a can of the tangerine. My first can came last Tuesday. I almost just tackled the UPS driver when he brought it. I took my first dose around 5 o'clock that evening. And when I tasted it, I knew I had on something. My wife got a little extra money. She said, you look like you really like this stuff. So I placed another order. So I ordered some plant minerals. I ordered the Cal Toddy. I ordered the Projo or Omega, because you told me to get that big giant thing at Costco. But I said, you know what? I'm tired of the vitamins not working. I want to go with the best, and I believe I found the best. So I started on that. Then I got a phone call. One of my nephews gave me $200. So I ordered the glucose gel the next day. Then I got the selenium. So now, my first full week on the tangerine was Tuesday. My first full week on the others is today. Now, my wife woke up screaming the other morning, and I said, what's wrong? I thought somebody was breaking in the house. Oh, my God, I can't believe your legs. My legs don't even look like they used to.
Gabriel, we are up against a hard break. You stick with me. At the very top of the next hour, I'm going to bring you back right away because I need to hear the rest of this. The world needs to hear the rest of it. Thank you so much for your trust in your call today. You stick with me, and we're going to take it to the rooftops. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Dr. Peter Glidden. Check out the live video stream, the drgliddenshow.tv. Don't even think about touching that dial.